The hearing in the Committee on Municipal Affairs, Tourism, Housing, and Historic Preservation is now called to order. It is exactly 9:04 a.m. And for the record, in accordance to 5 GCA Chapter 8, Subsection 8107, I will let everybody know that notices were sent out via email to all the senators and all media broadcasting outlets on Friday, November 4th, which adheres to the 5-day notice, and then the second notice was sent out on Wednesday, November 9th, which adheres to the 48-hour notice. I want to say that please note that written testimonies may be submitted to our office at Office of Senator Tina Muña Barnes at 155 Hessler Place, Hagåtña, Guam 96910. They can fax it to 472-3400. Joining me this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is my good colleague, Senator Tony Ada. Thank you for joining us this morning for this public hearing. And I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, what's on the agenda is the appointment of Eliza U. Paulino as member to the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority Board of Commissioners. We have Bill 384-33 COR, sponsored by Senator Rory Respicio, which is an act to amend Section 5109A of Chapter 5, Title 12, Guam Code Annotated, and this is to provide a preference for veterans and access to public housing units available for rent. Also, ladies and gentlemen, on the agenda is Bill number 386-33 COR, and is an act to adopt the rules and regulations governing the administration, development, implementation procedures, and guidelines of the Housing Trust Fund Act, as sponsored by myself on behalf of the, as submitted to the Guam Legislature as Oversight Chair of Guam Housing Corporation. I took the liberty to sponsor the rules and regulations. And at this time, to speak on behalf of Ms. Eliza U. Paulino, I have with me Pedro A. Leon Guerrero. Please come up and sit on the table. Also from GURA, here to support, I have the Director, Mr. Mike Duenas. Please join us. If there's anyone else wishing to speak on behalf of Ms. Paulino, please do not hesitate to check in. To your right, my left, at the staff, committee staff that's here with us. And we'll have you guys speak before we call Ms. Paulino up. With that being said, I'll go ahead, Mr. Leongora, if I may, and start with the, ask Mr. Duenas to go ahead and start as the Director of Guam Housing, of GURA, if I may. Please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Senator Ada. My name is Michael Duenas. I'm the Executive Director of the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority. I am here to testify in support of the appointment of Ms. Eliza Paulino to be a member of the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Board of Commissioners. With her appointment, we now have 4 members who are on the board that have been confirmed by the legislature in the last 13 months. We have we've had a confirmation hearing for Mr. Carl Dominguez, who was nominated by the governor, and now we have Ms. Paulino's appointment. When Mr. Dominguez and Ms. Paulino are confirmed, that will bring us up to 6 active Board of Commissioners on the board. 6 out of the 7, and we're still working with the governor's office to identify the 7th member. But this also gives us a little bit more flexibility in terms of being able to meet a quorum if we have 6 members. So I want to thank the committee, and especially the committee chairwoman, for promptly holding these confirmation hearings whenever the governor submits his nomination for the Board of Commissioners for GURA.
Mr. Duenas, Mr. Leon Guerrero.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Pedro A. Leon Guerrero Jr. I'm the Deputy Director of Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority. I'm here to support nomination appointment for Miss Eliza Paulino for Board of Commissioners for GURA. I've known Lisa for over 40 years. I've known her to be caring. I can honestly name all her other 9 siblings, but I won't do it in case I miss anybody. She is a caring individual, very mature. She's used to working and helping people that are in need. As her husband has been in an Army career, a successful Army career, Lisa has been taking on positions that assist the Army families as they prepare for deployments. The families that are staying, of course, on their base before, during, and after such deployments. She's used to just being that type of person. She's really helpful. She's mature. She knows how to help. She's she's everything you want to be in a board of commissioner. When she came back, I asked her if she was bored yet, and we were looking for other members, additional members for our commission, and she took up the challenge and she answered the call. So I'm really grateful for her for doing that. I think she'd make an excellent board of commissioner for GURA and what we do for helping the needs of the most needy people on the island of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator, do you have any comments? Thank you. You're very welcome. I'm going to go ahead and ask that you both be excused at this time. Please stay around just in case anything else comes up. Thank you. And at this time, I go ahead and call the appointee up, Miss Eliza Paulino. And I see a lot of family members here. I'd just like to extend Manana Sidzusa, Speaker Pinko's wife, and Tammy. Thank you for being also here. I'd like to recognize the Director of Veterans Affairs, Mr. Joseph San Augustine. Thank you. I know you're going to be presenting later on this morning. Please proceed. State your name for the record. If you're here to support your own nomination, and if you'd like to share any thoughts or comments.
Good morning. My name is Eliza Paulino, and I am now from the village of Inarajan. What else do I need to?
Did you want to say anything about yourself? And
yes, I by nature I do have an inclination to help people. I did get my degree, my bachelor's from the University of Guam, bachelor's of social work, and it kind of helped me to learn more about Guam in terms of our local people. As a teacher as well, I am been exposed to teach my students who come from houses, or actually, as a teacher, you meet all kinds of students, and I never really knew where they came from in terms of before my classroom. And so as I got older and got to know more students and the plights, this GURA nomination allowed me to do some research on what we have going on here in Guam. And when I was growing up, there was no homeless here, it seemed. Now the population has grown. So the fact that I can be part of an organization that can have a positive impact on Guam would be really something that's really important to me to do. So I welcome the nomination. I appreciate the nomination, and I look forward to it if so approved.
Thank you so much, Eliza. Before we ask any questions or state some comments, I'd like to go ahead and call Miss Angie Mendiola. I think she wanted to come and speak on your behalf. And you're more than welcome to come up to the table. Yeah. Angie, por favor. Manana Sidzusa. Just state your name for the record and if you support the appointee or not.
Okay. Sí, Angelita Paulino Mendiola. I am in favor for the confirmation of Eliza Paulino as a board of director for GURA. I met Lisa in 1985 when she was just dating my nephew Glenn Paulino. Our Paulino family knew that Glenn was lucky to find such loving, respectful, dynamic, smart, and caring girl. Our family is blessed to have her. She and Glenn added 4 wonderful, smart, and loving Paulino grandchildren. Lisa is instrumental in the success of her husband, Lieutenant Colonel Glenn Paulino, while serving in the Army for 27 years, by being a supportive wife and stepping up to the rank of Commander-in-Chief in taking over the care of her children and house while Glenn is deployed away from home. She did an outstanding job. She kept solid foundation of love and care for her family. She is strong in her faith in God. She volunteered her time and skills in mentoring young church members in formation of their faith wherever the military takes the family. She is presently an active volunteer at St. Joseph Church in Inarajan as a liturgical reader and CCD instructor for middle and high school students. Lisa is an extraordinary daughter-in-law for my brother Jaime Paulino. Together with her husband and son Matthew, she is taking care of Jaime, who now needs 100% care. Lisa's caring and loving spirit is a blessing and cherished and appreciated by our Paulino family. And as I was talking to my two sisters in the States, we kind of shared some characteristic of Lisa, and it was so wonderful. And then we check it on the internet, and let me just read the adjectives that describe her that we feel as sisters about her. She's intelligent, she's kind, she's passionate, she's bright, she's broad-minded, she's compassionate, conscientious, self-confident, self-disciplined, sensible, sensitive, sincere, a lot, but can I just go on? Generous, hardworking, honest, impartial, independent, determined, diligent, diplomatic, dynamic, energetic, enthusiastic, fair-minded, faithful, proactive, reliable, resourceful, thoughtful, unassuming, understanding, warm-hearted. Those are just a few that, that my sisters and I kind of just say, wow, let's kind of use the adjectives that we feel describe her. So we're really, really happy to have her in her family, and I'm sure that Guam will benefit of her being board member for the GURA. And I commend Governor Cabo for embracing and welcoming home a promising young Chamorro woman after helping her husband serve our nation by recommending her to help our island and people as a board member for GURA. I am confident that the legislature will decide on yes vote for her confirmation. Her confirmation will be a great asset to our island and people. Thank you. You cannot have a better person. And I'm so happy that I'm here. She didn't know. The family didn't know, so I was rushing down here. Thank you so much for and hoping and looking for a yes confirmation. Thank you.
Definitely. And Sitos Masi and Tianji, I truly appreciate you taking the time to come down and to support one of our own. And Senator Addy, do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mrs. Paulino, thank you for answering the governor's call for the appointment to the Guam GURA, Guam Housing Urban Renewal Authority. To your husband, Lieutenant Colonel, sir, thank you for your many years of dedicated service to our country and our island. Congratulations on your retirement. Sorry I wasn't there to present your resolution, but thank you for your many years. And I don't think you would have been able to accomplish what you did in serving our country without the loving support of your wife. It just goes to show that our wives are always our stronghold in our families. And reading over your packet, your background in social work and then also in education with your master's in curriculum and instruction, just goes to show that you have a lot to offer. First of all, you guys came home immediately after your retirement, and now you're immediately stepping up to the plate to serve our island in a different capacity now. And that just goes to go back to where Mom and Dad were, Auntie Emily and Uncle Tony. Your dad has served many years in this body of ours that today is now the session hall to Senator Speaker Antonio Pinco. And it just goes to show that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And everything that Auntie Angie had mentioned and all those words, all those adjectives, they come from both your mom and dad, and then what you have also built for yourself and your family. And it takes a lot to be a strong, loving wife to an Army career soldier that spends many years and many hours and days and months and away from home to protect the family that he so loves and cares for. And now he's probably going to be playing daddy duties while you're up and serving our island. And I hope that this is not just an appointment at this time for you to be at the Gura board, but I hope it opens the doors for other opportunities for you to serve our island, whatever it may be, whether, who knows, one day, directors or, education or wherever it may be, wherever your calling is at. But you have my full support, you have my vote, and I hope that I will ask the chairwoman to please move your confirmation packet forward so that we may vote on it in our November session. And I look forward to voting on it, and you have my yes vote. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Situs Masi, Senator Anna, I couldn't have said it nicer than him. And ditto, ditto, ditto. I do want to take the time to thank you, Lisa, for literally stepping up to the plate as I see Auntie Am and the family back there. I want to say thank you for being here to your husband, Undunkle, and Situs Masi. To Gura, I just want to say, Mr. Mike, you've got a lady who's got a lot of heart with her bachelor's in social work and her master's in curriculum and instruction. I just want to say that the sense of what the mission mandate of Gura building and strengthening families one project at a time, one home at a time, and making sure that the residents truly receive that better quality of care. And when you put them in a safe environment, a safe home, then you can get for greater and better productivity. Maybe the only question I'd like to put before you and just take it from the heart is being appointed to the Gura board has anything and everything that relates to housing for the indigent community. Of course, 100% funded by HUD. If there is any one thing that you could do to help make a difference for our residents who need that housing, what would you do, or what would you see, or what would you vision that to be that may not be happening today?
Well, to be on the board, I think to be part of this process, there's so many moving parts, I think, and it's really hard to focus on one area. It's more of a holistic approach to things because you can provide them housing, but without any education, without any skills, there's really not much more beyond that. But before you can even get to teaching them, the skills that they need to be self-sufficient, they need to be able to be in a place where they're safe and that they can hold their own belongings, their possessions, and to begin something with their family, something tangible, something concrete, and that of a house, to begin with, but to be safe. And I think when I looked at the research, the Gura, one of the words over were quality housing, decent housing, and the fact that many of our indigent don't even have decent housing, these adjectives that some of us take for granted in terms of what we have and what other people don't have. I think it's really important that we try to form some solid base to grow to have these people be self-sufficient. And it's such a long process, but we have to start somewhere. So I think to be part of this Gura board and be able to really know, because I don't know what's out there. I can pretend I know by reading the newspaper, but until you actually hit the ground and know people that are living it, and until then, all I can say is to be part of this process to provide decent quality housing and then go from there.
Lisa, I want to say that was excellent, and I want to congratulate Gura and Mike Duenas for helping with the governor and asking him to make sure that we fulfill the appointments that were needed. Every time I saw Mr. Duenas, I'll say, "Did the governor send us?" I'm just waiting. I'll hear the appointments right away. I just want to make sure that the complement of the board is there, and your response today takes it from the heart, and I really think that Gura will best be served with you as part of that team. And again, to thank the Ampinco Paulino family for literally giving Lisa the opportunity to help Guam make a difference. I look at you folks as a family because you guys have been the foundation of not just protecting our country, our island, but more importantly, giving back. And you've always been a part of that. And Undunkel Nasitos Masi, God bless you in your efforts, and there is a lot of work to be done, and I know that HUD has some wonderful programs that we can continue to place our residents in. That waiting line is long, and we hope to get creative and fix more houses and make sure that the funding comes down to provide more resources into the families. So again, thank you. I will definitely, and I'll take the Auntie Emily, 100% support. I will get it on next week's agenda, and I think it's important that we do. We do have one more, right, Mr. Duenas? And we hope that we can get the nominations in before the end of the term. This, ladies and gentlemen, will it's to serve the unexpired term that Mrs. De La Rosa vacated on, and that term length is a term length of 5 years, but you will serve that unexpired term. So just to make sure that you realize that term seat is for 5 years, and fulfilling Mrs. De La Rosa's term.
I understand.
Okay. With that being said, I'd like to say thank you. We will call the appointment of Eliza U. Paulino publicly heard, and if again anyone like to present written testimony to the listening audience at home, please don't hesitate to do so by sending it to 155 Hessler Place, Agotna, Guam 96910. You can do it via facsimile, the old-fashioned way, at 472-3400, or email at senator@tinamuñabarnes.com. Si Dios Masi, si Dios Mbili DC. God bless you. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Thank you, Auntie Ann, Marie's and family. Thank you very much.
So,
Yeah.
can you do that to me?
Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, the author of the legislation 384-33 is still in a meeting right now. And if I may, I'll go ahead and switch up on the agenda and look at Bill. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, I was going to go ahead and look at 386, but I'll go ahead and work with the agenda on 384-33. COR, which is an act to amend Section 5109A of Chapter 5, Title 12, Guam Code Annotated, to provide a preference for veterans and access to public housing units available for rent. So for 384, I have on the agenda to speak Mr. Mike Duenas from Gura. Please take a seat. And Mr. Joe San Augustine, Director of the Guam Veterans Affairs Office, also here to speak. Please go ahead. And Mr. Pedro Leon Guerrero, also here to speak. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Before I ask you folks to speak, I will go ahead and give a brief letter of support from Senator Rory Respicio, who extends his apologies. He's in a scheduled meeting right now, and he really wanted to get out of that, but unfortunately, he's still in that meeting. Senator Ada, if you can, I'd go ahead and have you read that into the record from the sponsor, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is a sponsor statement on Bill 384-33 COR, an act to amend Section 5109A of Chapter 5, Title 12, Guam Code Annotated, to provide a preference for veterans in access to public housing units available for rent. And this was introduced and sponsored by Senator Rory J. Respicio, the majority leader. Bill 384-33 will give priority to veterans in housing administered by the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority, including Section 8 housing, to the maximum extent allowed under federal regulations. The issue of homeless military veterans is a national problem, with an estimated 40,000 veterans on any given day being homeless. Many states, including Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Kentucky, have similarly responded to this problem by giving veterans housing priority. I believe Guam should also step up and provide this priority for those who have served our nation so well. Sincerely, Rory J. Respicio, the author of the bill 384-33, Madam Speaker.
Si Diyos Masi, Senator Ada, for that. I truly appreciate it. I will go ahead and start with Mr. San Augustine from the Guam Veterans Affairs Office, then Mr. Duenas, and then Mr. Leangara. State your name for the record, where you're from, and if you support the bill or not.
Good morning, Acting Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, Rory Respicio is not able to be here this morning, and Senator Tony Ada. My name is Joe A. San Augustine. I am the Special Assistant to the Governor as the Acting Administrator for the Guam Veterans Affairs Office. I am here this morning to testify in favor of Bill 384-33, an act to amend subsection 5109A of Chapter 5, Title 12, Guam Code Annotated, to provide preference for veterans in access to public housing units available for rent.
You're just here to support it.
You want me to keep on?
Yes.
I thought you just want, I apologize. Madam Chair and Senators, thank you for introducing this bill. I thank you very much as well for being very active in looking out for our military veterans and their family who have served this country and this island. I am very proud to say that I have started to see more support coming from this body in the past couple of months in looking out to ensure that those that have served our country are being served likewise when they return. I would attest that I've done a lot of ground pounding the past couple of months out on the street, and I've seen some of the type of lives that many of these people live in. It could be a house that's a good house, but for some odd reason they're unable to take care of their environment in itself. It's a house, solid house, but it's filled with trash. But in saying this, I am glad that there's an initiative that is moving forward to ensure that our veterans and their family do not end up on the streets. I say this because this is a serious, very serious matter. And so what are some of the reasons? As it was mentioned here, PTSD, drugs, and so on, but I could tell you that many of these folks that have served, gone away for many years, return back to Guam in hopes that they could establish a home, are not able to afford it, or their family that they return to are struggling themselves and cannot help them any longer. So I will commend, and I thank this body, and I thank the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal for also working to entertain this initiative. This morning I am just providing a oral statement. I think I do have 10 days to be able to provide a written statement. I will do that, and I will put a more defined language in that statement, if I may.
Yes. 13. Yes. Thank you, Mr. San Augustine. I'd just like to note for the record that this is one of those bills that we would try to bring into the November session. So I'm hoping that within the next week, if you could present written testimony. I thank you for your oral testimony, but if you'd like to further submit written testimony, if you can do so before the end of the week, as I am aware from the author of the legislation that he will try and push this legislation in the November session. So if you could please just keep that in mind.
I will.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Duenas?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Senator Ada. GURA supports this bill and we will be providing written testimony before the end of the week. At this point, our staff, our property site managers, and led by Mr. Leon Guerrero, our deputy director, are reviewing the technical aspects of the language that is in the bill. However, we do support the passage of a bill that provides preference points to veterans. As I said earlier, we're just trying to understand how the details can work out in terms of what is allowable under the regulations for the program. We may end up just asking the legislature to not be as specific in terms of the details of who's eligible, but that's something that, again, our staff are still digesting the bill to see when we go down to further some of the subcategories involved. But we don't think it'll be a major problem adopting this bill, a preference for veterans.
Mr. Duenas, just based on your comment, I see that other districts and jurisdictions within the United States have emulated and have created programs to this effect, and I just wanted to know, does HUD accept or will give kind consideration to what successes are in other jurisdictions, or would you need to get clearance from them?
We believe the program is structured that local communities can establish preferences such as veterans preferences, and there are housing authorities across the country that have adopted veterans preferences.
Okay.
As I said, we're just looking at the implementation, and especially as we get into the details about the surviving household members.
Right.
That's all, basically. We just want to make sure that it's something that can be implemented to the extent that the author proposes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Leangara? Senator?
Would maybe looking at it and maybe starting out with disabled veterans?
That's a possibility. We already provide preferences to households in which adult member of the household has a disability.
Right.
A disability is defined under the Social Security Administration. So that's if they already have a disability, they would qualify whether or not they're a veteran.
A veteran or not.
But if you're looking at adding an additional bonus, that's also a possibility that can work.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leangara?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We, like our director said, Director Duenas, we do support supporting our veterans. Right now, with us, we have also like he said, also we have local preferences that we have established. For example, members who become homeless due to fire or natural disasters, they have a preference. We have preference for victims of domestic violence. We have preference with numbers, with points allocated to that. Also, head of households that work over 20 hours a week. We have, so we have local preferences that we have already to support the community, and having looking at the veterans is another one we should look into. So we fully support that. Like I said, we already have a mechanism in place right now for that. Yes, sir.
So, kind of want to make sure. Okay, thank you very much. Senator Abbott, do you have any comments? Okay. Again, I will note for the record that we will have the November session, I think, if I'm not mistaken, November 22nd, according to my colleague, Senator Ada. So I think it's really important that if there's additional testimony that this panel would like to present to this committee so that we can get the work done, if you can please help us submit it. I know the 18th is on Friday, but if I'm not mistaken, we have Committee on Rules, am I right? So we need to submit everything by Wednesday or Thursday morning. So I'm going to ask you to please work closely with our committee so that we can make sure that the comments or the statements get included or appended into the committee report. Okay.
Madam Chair, I will go on record that Mr. Leon Guerrero will have the written testimony by tomorrow afternoon.
That sounds great.
And I agree with that, Manager. It will happen. It will happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and call Bill number 384-33 COR as introduced by Senator Rory Respicio, publicly heard. And if anybody else in the listening audience would like to present written testimony, please do so by sending it to senator@tinamuñabarnes.com or old-fashioned way 472-3400 is our fax, and 155 Hessler Place, Sagana, Guam 96910 is Suite 101 is our mailing address. Ondunkel and Asitso Smasi, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. The third bill, ladies and gentlemen, or the last bill on the agenda is bill number 386-33 COR, and as introduced by myself, which is an act to adopt the rules and regulations governing the administration, development, implementation, procedures, and guidelines of the Housing Trust Fund. Again, based on the mission mandate and the requirement that these rules and regulations go through the AAA process and clear through the Office of the Attorney General and Legal. This rules and regulations, as was submitted to the Legislative Secretary and as Oversight Chair of Housing, I took the privilege to introduce it on behalf of Guam Housing to expedite the process moving forward. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, here to speak, I do know that Mr. Mike Martinez, the Acting General Manager, is here. Please come on up, and Mr. Clyde Beaver from Guam Housing Corporation. And I see Attorney Cynthia Kuby back there. Good morning. Would you like to sit on the table just in case there's any legal questions? Yeah, and Mary and Caesar, you're more than welcome. Just grab a chair and pull up. Before I have Mr. Mike read his testimony, I'll just ask all of you if you can just present your name and where you're from for the record. I know it's for Guam Housing, but just for the record, make sure that you state your name and the agency that you're in. Mr. Mike? Go ahead and just state your name before we start, because I'll have everybody state their name because you're all from Guam Housing.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Senator Tina Rose Muña-Barnes. I am Michael Martinez. I am the acting president of Guam Housing Corporation.
Okay. Caesar?
Operator Chairman Barnes and Senator Ada, thank you for. My name is Cesar Villanueva. I'm the assistant to the president, acting president to Guam Housing Corporation.
Clyde?
Morning, Madam Chair, Tony Ada, Senator Anthony Ada. I'm Clyde Beaver, Compliance Officer, Guam Housing Corporation.
Buenas and half a day, Chairman Barnes and Senator Ada. I was the associated counsel at the time when I had helped to assist drafting this, and I told them I would be here to support them at least to get through this process. So I'm happy to be here on behalf of Guam Housing.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Senator Ada. My name is Mary R. Guerrero, the loan administrator of Guam Housing Corporation. Thank you.
And then we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Martinez.
Okay. Buenas and half a day, Housing Chairwoman Senator Tina Rose Muña-Barnes and committee member Senator Tony Ada. I would like to express my thanks to the committee as a whole in holding this public hearing for the Housing Trust Fund Administrative Rules and Regulation. I will be remiss not to acknowledge the dream and vision of the late Martin C. Benavente in support and in the promotion of our Housing Trust Fund for the members of this distinguished body of lawmakers. As many of you know, establishing the administrative rules and regulations of our Housing Trust Fund opens the doors of opportunity to not only the people of Guam who are pursuing the Guamanian dream of home ownership, but also provide the legislative body the means to to address the many issues related to capital funding of CLTC property, affordable housing, low-cost rentals, homelessness, infrastructure, and among many other things. The staff and management of Guam Housing Corporation look forward to working with this committee and general public in the review and subsequent approval of the Housing Trust Fund administrative rules and regulation. At this time, I would like to defer this testimony to Mr. Clyde Beaver, our Quality Assurance Compliance Officer, for further information on the Housing Trust Fund.
Very welcome. Mr. Beaver?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Appreciate this. This is testimony in support of Bill 386-33, the Housing Trust Fund Administrative Rules and Regulations. The Housing Trust Fund initiative has come a long way thus far because of the superb efforts of the late Guam Housing Corporation President, Martin C. Benavente, for being the driver of this initiative, and for the late Senator Ben Pangilinan in establishing the Housing Trust Fund Act, as well as that of Madam Speaker Judith T. Wanpat in initiating a permanent funding source for the first program, the First-Time Homeowner Assistance Program under the Housing Trust Fund Act. The Housing Trust Fund initiative is a very solid solution towards solving the many housing problems on Guam. It has been well established and thoroughly effective across the entire country. Housing trust funds are distinct funds established to support the preservation and production of affordable housing and increase opportunities for families and individuals to access decent, affordable homes. Housing trust funds systemically shift affordable housing funding from the annual budget allocations to a commitment of dedicated revenue sources. Basically, every state, county, or municipality, as well as the District of Columbia, more than 625 city and county housing trust fund programs are in operation. They dedicate nearly $1 billion annually to help address critical housing needs. We cannot continue to expect help from the federal government or GURA to help solve all of our housing needs. They can only do so much. Guam's Housing Trust Fund will fill that gap. Guam Housing Corporation has been working towards getting this program established here on Guam, with the first test being the First-Time Homeowners Program Act of 1998. This program was successful in supporting 123 families in purchasing their first home with $423,000 in down payment and assistance and closing costs. But it was short-lived, as this funding source was derived from the general fund, which it could ill afford, and consequently the program ceased. It lay dormant for the next 14 years. This program was reestablished in 2012 by the late Senator Ben Pangilinan with seed money from Guam Housing Corporation. Again, a very limited initial funding source, and consequently it was once again on the verge of failing. The Speaker, Dr. Judith T. Wanpat, however, was able to rescue the program. She was successful in finding a permanent funding source by directing and disheated funds, which has allowed the program to continue for the First-Time Homeowner Assistance Program. The economic stimulus was phenomenal. There are other problems that go well beyond the First-Time Homeowner Assistance. As addressed in Housing Trust Fund administrative rules, we also need to secure lending capital for borrowers whom cannot find financing elsewhere. We need to find the solutions to find decent, safe shelter for the island's homeless families. There are families with children living in squalor conditions that should not be tolerated. With this program, we can help them. This program identifies several housing problems, and it provides a mechanism for solutions. Guam Housing Corporation has identified different funding sources, one of which is seeded funds, is supporting first-time homeowner assistance programs. But the Guam Housing Corporation has identified other sources, as noted in a separate draft proposal, funds that could be applied to other much-needed housing programs. Guam Housing Corporation is pleased to be the administrative agency for the Housing Trust Fund and will certainly continue doing everything it can in securing funding sources and initiating housing programs, such as efforts to increase and preserve the supply of decent, safe, and sanitary affordable housing for extremely low, moderate income, and of course our homeless families. We are so sincere about the good this program can produce to set the wheels in motion and to demonstrate to anyone who may have doubted this program. Guam Housing Corporation started out using its own funds, its lending capital as seed money. This program was sufficient in providing funding assistance to about 65 families. With the addition of these seeded funds, it has now reached over 509 families, aiding them in purchasing their first home, while providing over $3.3 million in financial assistance to their first-time homeowner assistance program, supporting families whom otherwise may have been priced out of the housing market. We have seen the success first-time homeowner assistance program has, but we all know there are so many more programs that need to be addressed and funded. As noted, every single state, every major city across the country has established housing initiatives through their housing trust fund programs to assist or solve their housing problems. We can do this. We should do this. We at the Guam Housing Corporation most certainly do support this bill, this drive, and this program. We are certain that the 509 families, the husbands, the wives, the children, wish to thank you. We could surmise that the real estate industry, while generating in excess of $81 million in transactions, along with all the sub-industries, the trickle-down industries, we'd also thank you. And yes, we at Guam Housing Corporation most sincerely wish to thank you, Madam Chairman, for bringing this program to the forefront. Clyde Beaver.
Thank you.
To Attorney Kuby or Caesar Mary, any of you like to present a comment?
Okay, the only thing I want to, I guess, reiterate here is the program that's under the trust fund. Is the only program right now authorized under the Housing Trust Fund is the first-time homeowner. That program has been very successful. It has shown that there is a need. There are individuals out there that are pursuing homeownership, but just unable to realize it and without the assistance of the first-time homeowner, the funding. They actually, every time there's a little money in that fund, we see a rush of applicants. When we received that recent funding of 280, we already had people that have been reviewed, ready for certification of funding, and so that wiped out within days. We recently received another 100,000, and again, those funds have been exhausted. It all have been reserved. Right now, we have no pending that are completed and ready for closing, but we do have in the pipeline over 30 applications that are, once they complete the others. So the need is there, and this is moving forward now to homeownership. These may be individuals are renting, could be under Section 8, and now they would vacate that opportunity for others that really cannot transition yet to homeownership. But there's a domino effect here that it helps others then meet their housing needs, whether it be, transition housing or rental. It opens the door for others. At Guam Housing Corporation, we see numerous people come through our doors, not only for financing, but for assistance in terms of homeless, in terms of rental, with both of the veterans, both with low income. And it's unfortunate that we're not always able to assist them, but we like to see other programs in place. And I believe that this Housing Trust Fund would do certainly that, so that it can open up other programs that may help out and address other community housing issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator. And I just wanted to say that I was very happy to be part of this process. It was a very long process, as the acting General Manager, Mr. Martinez, pointed out. But I wanted to thank both Mr. Beaver, Mary, and Mr. Martinez and Caesar for giving me the resources, the information to help go through the AAA process. It was a very laborious and a very difficult process, but it seems to me that the program seems to fit the mandate of the organization. And we've come so far to this point, so I'm very hopeful and would appeal to the legislature, to you as members of the committee, to consider that this is a very important process to help the community of Guam, and of also the efforts by Guam Housing, both its management and its board of directors, to try to move this process through. So I'm just happy that I was part of this process. Thank you.
Caesar Smasi. Caesar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make the committee aware that we work with many other agencies in addressing housing needs, and we not forget that we are the sole source of CLTC properties to finance them, aside from veterans. So when we have about 7,000, 8,000 people in line to develop CLTC property or want to be homeowners, we definitely need the funding. And the Housing Trust Fund will help us do that. So, Madam Chair and Senator Ada, we look forward to working with the legislature and pushing these programs forward.
I do have a couple of questions, Senator.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank the Guam Housing Corporation for all that they do for those that are seeking home ownership. I think it's very important, and I like how we went from the program stopped and then reinitiating and starting the program, and now just looking for that continuing funding source to ensure that those that are able to apply for this first-time home ownership grant, that we help them in every way that we can. How many families have already been helped so far since restarting the program? 449 families. Amazing. That's 449 now new homeowners. And it just goes to show that, and you got 30 more in the pipes, and who knows how many more after that. We were able to get this funding source situation figured out, and always having a viable funding source for the first-time homeowners program. But thank you for all the work that you guys do up at Guam Housing. It just goes to show that when everyone comes together, good things come out of the product, and the good things are those that have the home ownership. But thank you, and I look forward to Madam Chair moving this on to the November session, and I hope that we're able to get it in and passed so that we can give you guys the rules and regulations that you guys need, and the guidelines for it, so we can move forward with everything else. But thank you so much for all your time and your work and what you do for those that are seeking home ownership. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Ada, Tony. I do, like I said earlier, just had a couple of questions, and I think anybody on the panel can answer this. The terms affordable homes and non-luxury homes are used throughout the rules. Does the Housing Corps have specific definitions of what entails an affordable home and a non-luxury home, or could that be? Yeah.
Well, we define some affordable homes with certain, square footage and then cost. With our model homes, we in our IFD last year or a couple of years ago, we put specific guidelines in place where the homes would be no more than $100,000 and no more than 1,000 square feet living area. So that's the parameters we set.
Okay, Clay?
Yes, Madam Chair. One thing, of course, we do follow HUD guidelines to determine what the values are. But what like Caesar was saying, we're trying to reach those who can't even reach that guideline. So the alternative building systems programs for folks in the lowest of low income groups. Because if your income is $40,000, you're not going to buy anything, and you need $80,000 to buy something in today's market. But anyway, it'd be whatever HUD guidelines set, and then downward from there.
Okay, so you guys follow the HUD as it relates to the definition.
As it relates to affordable housing, we
Yes.
like to ensure that depending on the family composition, that plays a major factor. That there are certain square footage per family member that we have to address, and so we don't want to be reinforcing substandard homes. But in relation to the grant, there is that 250, and I know that the rules and regs for the first-time homeowners, it allows the board to look from time to time what that amount should be. What we're finding is that there are people that are eligible, even for loans that we may have been processing. They have difficulty finding in the market. If they don't own land, it will be a challenge for them to try to find something, anything between 150 to even 200,000. the inventory, it may not be there. Now, if they do own land, then they can have the control of the cost of building the home, or if they have Chamorro Land Trust, those issues would not be a major concern. But without them owning a home and they have to pursue buying land and building, or buying a house that's already existing, and maybe even making repairs so that it comes up to building code, the amount the 250 almost, comes up to that amount if they were to purchase land too. So, that's something that maybe the construction portion we can control in terms of just basic needs, but when they look for land.
But there are already provisions in place with the guidelines that you have
For us to review it.
for you to review on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
So there's no need to further clarify in the extended rules.
Well, I guess in terms, because that is the umbrella, that is the trust fund, and I think that was the
making
purpose
sure
of
we
that.
follow the
It's
guidelines.
not only specific to the first-time homeowner, that is to address maybe
All of
other
it.
programs that may
Okay.
come to place under the trust fund.
Thank you. And I think my second question, I'm hoping the provisions can be looked at under B3, which you guys may have on page 6. It states funds shall be dispersed to a specific program based on income and financial needs, with primary emphasis on the lowest of income levels as identified by HUD and consistent with the guidelines for income limits established by the corporation. My question is, have income levels already been established, and what are the income level thresholds? And the reason why I bring this up is when we were working, I can give you a good example, is the Lada Estates. We put in a provision that was passed by law that would increase the earned median income from like 150 up to 115%. We increased it to 150%. And I wanted to make sure that the provisions, if it is necessary to add, that could be a possible inclusion without jeopardizing the fund process. B3. I think that's on page 6, Attorney QE. When we were working with it's now called the Summertown Homes, right? The one in Jigo, the Lada Estates. We did several legislations and amendments to further clarify the income levels. And so do we work strictly with what HUD has to offer, or is it also amenable to look at what we've done in the past, the successes, like in Summertown, where we increased the earned median income to up to 150% instead of the 115%? I'm just food for thought.
It's okay.
Clyde, if
We
you
go
can,
to 200% now. So
yeah, can you?
Yeah, currently we go up to 200% of median income. So, and that's again within HUD guidelines. But yeah, we're not governed by HUD. We're governed by the legislature. So yeah, we can.
Okay, just wanting to make sure that inclusions to that, because that would be one of the recommendations that this committee would carefully look at, seeing the successes of what has already existed with the Lada Estates, which is now called the Summertown Homes in Lada. That because of that, we were able to put those right above the HUD guidelines into the market of realizing that home utilization.
Yeah, each program that we've identified in here would come with special provisions, and so certainly, absolutely, whatever those provisions might be for whatever program wants to be applied to, is fine. So yeah, and this legislature says that.
That's correct. That's correct, Madam Chair. Because of the fact that these are just administrative rules and regs, the legislature really has the power to work with Guam Housing and the administration to put these programs in place as well as set guidelines. So that's the beauty about it. It's all local.
Yeah, and I understand that. I just wanted to make sure that based on what was publicly heard, the successes of what we had on the previous program with the LATA estates, that those provisions can be carefully considered and included so that the earned medium income can be increased from that HUD requirement to a maximum up to. And because you clarify that, I want to make sure that we don't take away from what HUD already has to offer based on what we have done. And I wanted to make sure that this panel was aware of what we've done in the past. Okay.
If I may, Madam
Yes,
Chair,
please.
it also does provide under provision 4 that it does indicate, Mary just pointed out, that there is a flexibility, the guidelines and criteria for each housing program as set forth above, unless otherwise specified elsewhere, shall be established by the Board of Directors and approved by the legislature. So I think it gives, obviously, back the discretion of the legislature to say, does this meet with the
Right.
requirements today? So I think that may be an answer to your question. That also gives the Guam Housing that flexibility to work with what it is. As I was referencing it with Mary, I think the HUD standard is just the standard, and deviating up is a thing that the housing authority can look at, but deviating down is where the problem comes in,
Right.
because you don't want to go lower than what HUD already sets. So at least it gives it within these rules that discretionary authority to come back to the legislature related to each different programs. So
Right.
it's just not first homeowners, it's other types of programs.
And knowing that we've seen positive successes already happening with the LATA, the Summertown Home Program, that we can positively look into making sure that those provisions are provided in the amendments in this from the committee. So with that being said, if there are no others who wish to speak? Yes,
I just wanted to add, Senator Ada asked how many applicants that we have assisted or we've made the disbursement. But I wanted to point out that attached to those grants was about 66 million of activity out there at the onset of this since 2012. And that's something that there's a return immediately, and that they would continue because there would be property taxes yearly, there would be insurance yearly, and their interest. So the program under this, again, just something to add, is that it has stimulated the economic activity and will continue to do so.
I think what we've called it in the past was the multiplier effect. Based on the $1.2 million and the $700,000 that this August body was afforded the Guam Housing Corporation to work with, the economic driver and the multiplier effect has related into the community over 66 million and climbing because of the most recent resources that was provided to Guam Housing again. So as we continue to look for revenue streams out there to permanently give the first-time homeowners program and the other programs that Guam Housing Corporation works with, I think that the providing a better quality of life so that our island residents can make sure that those realizing home ownership and providing for their family, that this is an opportunity that we can work with, and Guam Housing Corporation is here. I also want to note for the record that Guam Housing Urban Renewal Authority is also here listening into this bill. I want to thank them for being here because would you like to say a comment on the bill, or would you like to provide testimony? Please, come on up. Mr. Mike Duane is from Cora.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. We've had ongoing discussions with the late Martin Beneventi on the rules and regulations for the trust fund. And basically a lot of our conversations centered around what we could or could not do with the federal grants we had. And he was looking at the Housing Trust Fund as a way to address some of our emergency shelter and housing needs that were not eligible under our federal grants. I believe the rules and regulations provide Guam Housing Corporation the flexibility to address our local needs, so to speak. And we will continue to coordinate our efforts with Guam Housing Corporation to ensure that we're not duplicating anything in terms of the kind of programs we have and the markets that we're targeting. Certainly the families earning 50% or less of median income are hard-pressed to be able to find housing that they can afford, much less get a loan from the lending institutions. In that regard, GURA has been working with Habitat for Humanity and the Micronesian Housing Development Corporation with their self-help programs. So there are a number of alternatives, and I believe the regulations that are before the board are flexible enough that Guam Housing Corporation can respond to local priorities. And as I said, we will continue to coordinate our efforts with Guam Housing Corporation so that there are no perceived duplicate actions.
Si Jules Masi. If there are no other comments or questions, I will call this hearing on the appointment of Ms. Eliza U. Paulino, member to the Guam Urban Renewal Authority Board of Commissioners. Bills number 384-33 COR is introduced by Senator Respicio, and bill number 386-33 COR is introduced by myself, Senator Muña Barnes, publicly heard. And again, to the listening audience, if you wish to present written testimony, please do so by submitting it to senator@tinamuñabarnes.com or facsimile at 472-3400 or address at 155 Hessler Place, Agotna, Guam 96910. The Committee on Municipal Affairs, Tourism, Housing, and Guam Historic Preservation is now come to an adjournment. It is 10:11 in the morning. Sainamasi, have a good week, everybody. God bless. Thank you.